And good evening. I'm Rick Dancer. Welcome to Get Real with Rick Dancer. Well, tonight it's going to be Get Real with Rick Dancer and Bill Lundun. Bill Lundun's going to be here live in just a second, but I wanted I just wanted to vent a little bit on something that happened today, and I'm so happy that President Biden is doing such a great job with the economy because gas prices are through the roof in Oregon. We're still in Montana. We're at 419, and you guys are at 519. So it's all those extra gas taxes that Kate Brown and those lawmakers keep tacking on anytime they want a special project. But some of you voted for, not me. But here's the thing. Did you see where the Dow dropped 1,100 points, the worst that it's been since 2020? Build back better. Bill Lundun, what do you think of that Build Back Better plan now?
Oh, yeah, that's working really well. And let's remember that all of this is the Russians' fault.
Yeah. Or COVID. We're still blaming COVID
right.
for the whole thing. And it's driving me nuts because I've talked to people and they still that are diehards. They still support him, say it's not his fault. I'm going, hey, he's the commander in chief and we're going down the toilet and it came on his watch. How is that the fault of the previous administration? I don't understand how that happens. And it's like, I guess if you voted for him and you were you made that kind of mistake that it's destroying the country right now, I guess it would be hard to fess up and say, yeah, I was one of those.
Or you're going to be an apologist for him. Did you see it was a column a couple of days ago in the not the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, and the columnist said that Biden needs to continue doing what he's doing to fight inflation, which is nothing. And that was a quote. Nothing.
No.
Needs to continue doing nothing. Because if anybody tries to do anything, it's just going to make it worse. So he needs to continue doing nothing, and that he was actually doing a great job because he was doing nothing.
Well, Mike
How's
Higgins
that for an apologist?
Mike Higgins comes on. He says it's Bush's fault. He's being facetious. I know, Mike. So he's just saying
that's the first Bush, by the way.
Yeah, you blame everything on Bush. So Bill, I had you on today because I want you to talk to the audience about the election and what we've got. So we know that you talked with the two top Republicans, Bob Tiernan, Christine Drazan, and you talked to Bob this morning. Tell people what was going on.
Well, at least as far as that, Bob here about, I think, 2 hours ago conceded. And he was down by about 5 points. And when I talked to him this morning at about 11 o'clock, he said that he was still in it as far as he was concerned. So what happened between 11 and 2:30 or so is anybody's guess, because when he sent out the press release, he didn't say. He was gracious about it and said, I now support Christine Drazan, go team, rah, rah, rah. And so he's essentially dropped out. I'm surprised for a number of reasons, but it does still surprise me. If you want to know my actual thought, how real can we get here?
You can get super real, Bill, because
okay.
you can even say the F word if you want.
Okay. Well, no, I'm not going to say the F word. I'm going to say the clusterfuck word. So
wait, I think those are two separate words.
No, that's a compound word. It's a compound word. I never thought, I used to say this about somebody I knew. I would always say, he can't do anything any dumber. He has hit the apex. And sure enough, Oregon manages to top itself with our primary. You take a look at what happened in Clackamas County.
Oh, come on. I mean, really, like, and I see Fagan's little thing. Oh, we're going to get to the bottom of this. Well, how did that happen in the first place? I mean, how come stuff like this didn't happen for years? You didn't hear about this kind of thing for years. And now all of a sudden it's just, go ahead. Your opinion. I'm sorry.
Anyway, okay. So you have what happened in Clackamas County, and those were the smeared barcodes. You had the Secretary of State, who is in charge of elections here in the state, last week saying, oh, that's not going to be a problem because we can still run those through the machines and they'll still be counted. Said that multiple times at several press conferences to multiple reporters. And then somebody went to her and said, you can't do that. So then the next day she sends out very quietly like a 2-sentence press release that says we were wrong on that they will have to be hand counted. Then last night she's all miffed because the ballots from Clackamas County are coming in slow because they can't start counting ballots until 8 o'clock, and all of those ballots have to be transferred by hand to another ballot, double checked by somebody else from another party, and then they run them through the machine. Like, this is a big surprise. And she was complaining, well, we offered this, my office offered staff and personnel to help out with this. Okay, I'm the Clackamas County clerk, and last week I find out the Secretary of State doesn't even know how ballots are counted. So, oh yeah, I want your help. Thanks. Yeah, come on in. Let's just make it all worse for everybody.
So she throws the Clackamas County elections clerk under her bus that she's driving, and then basically backs up and goes back and forth on top of her. What a
now look at the scene
piece of work.
Okay, so you have that. Then in 2021, the Democratic-led legislature decided to change the law, saying, okay, as long as you get your ballot postmarked by 8 p.m. on election day, we're still going to count it for at least 7 days. So the ballots have 7 days to get there. Well, we know that yesterday there was an influx, at least at ballot boxes, a big influx of ballots. We can probably assume a lot of those ended up as well in the mail. So it's and in close races, and there's a number of them. I mean, locally here, we've got a couple of races that are just 1 percentage point, and 100 votes between the two candidates. One of them's for a county board of commissioners in Lane County.
Is that Dave Lovell and Bernie?
Dave Lovell and Joe Bernie. They blew that up. So there's the confusion that is surrounding that. And you've got Clackamas County, Marion County. Now, I've seen nothing reported about this, but I've heard it from 2 separate candidates, Mark Thielman and Bob Tiernan, that Marion County was having issues last night counting the ballots and getting them forwarded to the Secretary of State. I've looked all day and tried to find out information about it, but 2 of them said the exact same thing. So I'm going to say, there's your 2 sources that, something screwy was going on there. And I imagine there's probably a lot more that we didn't know.
So, Bill, so now if we even talk about this, is it going to be the whole national thing? Like, oh, this is, here, election fraud. You can't talk about that. It's, this is, now you guys are conspiracy theorists. They throw the same bullshit out. But we have obviously some real problems here in Oregon with this system, and it's not working.
Well, what I find interesting is the way that those in charge minimize that whole issue of, people concerned about voter fraud, and make it seem like that, people really don't feel that way. It's just the conspiracy theorists. I thought here a couple of months ago, I had come across a poll dealing with voter fraud here in Oregon. I found it. And this was done by DHM. And DHM is a well-known polling firm in Oregon. And they've been around for years. They've got a good reputation. They're fairly reliable in terms of what they do, the methodology and the like. And they asked of 6, and this was just like a month and a half ago, they asked 600 Oregon voters, likely Oregon voters, Republicans and Democrats. All right. So it wasn't just Republicans. And they asked them how concerned they were about voter fraud. And they could answer either they think it's very serious, somewhat serious, not too serious, not serious at all, or don't know. 41% said they thought the issue of voter fraud in Oregon was very serious. 11% said somewhat serious. So that's what 52% of Oregon voters, give or take, in this poll had plus or minus 3 percentage points. So say 50% almost of Oregonians believe that there is a problem with voter fraud here in the state. And if they think that this isn't going to make it worse, all things considered, and a week from now, when all of these other ballots get counted, and if there's big changes, you can bet people are going to be up in arms.
They better be. They better be. So how come none of the media? I haven't heard any of those statistics you just gave us. Where was that study?
That was done by DHM here in Oregon about a month and a half ago. And oddly enough, it was done on behalf of Oregon Public Broadcasting.
And did we hear the results of that anywhere?
Not that part of the survey.
Huh.
I never did.
So Bill,
I had come across.
Here's the other thing I never heard about till you mentioned it yesterday on the show. When did the legislature decide that for decades we've had a deadline of 8 o'clock at night? Ballots have to be turned in, no postmark. It has to be in by that time. And they conveniently change that on a whim that they think is going to get more people to vote. You know what bugs me about this? We already have a problem in our culture with people not showing up to work on time, not making deadlines. Kids in school now, you don't have to have a deadline. Remember when we had to, if you didn't get your paper in on time, it was over. So then they go to work and they're shitty employees because they don't show up on time, or they just, I decided not to come to work today. And we don't understand why we have a problem. Now we water down the process for even voting to, it's like, we need to make this more convenient. No, you have a fucking deadline. It's 8 o'clock on election day, and that's when it has to be in. You don't get to hedge on that. And why does the legislature get to change that and not the voters of Oregon? Shouldn't that be up to us to decide what we're going to do with that, not the Oregon legislature?
You would think that it would have been a referral, but no, they decide. Well, when you've got a supermajority, and the governor is of your party of the supermajority, you can do whatever you want. The other thing that they changed is made it easier for what they would call mules to go out and collect ballots from people and
that's
turn
not
them.
A problem anywhere in the country.
No. And that was something that is now codified in Oregon law that, yeah, you can do that. A third party can walk up to your door and say, hey, we noted that you haven't turned your ballot in yet. If you've got that filled out, I'll take it down and turn it in for you. Oh, okay. And you can hand them your ballot and they walk away with it.
Okay, Bill, hold your thought because I'm going to come back to you. I got to run a commercial and I'll be right back.
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks.
Hey everybody, Derek Roser here. We're on our weekly taco tour at Tacovore. I'm having a pulled pork taco. Actually, no, this is a carne asada taco. This is awesome. It's really good. Obviously, you can see I've taken one bite out of it. I'm going to give you my sound bite for the day. There we go. People are asking me, is the market going to collapse? I just say no. The market's not going to collapse anytime soon. If you're interested in knowing why, give me a call and I'll tell you. Happy to fill you in. Have a great day.
All right, Derek Roser, one of our sponsors, Derek Roser Real Estate Group. If you guys have any questions, the market better not drop. I'm buying a house right now.
Yeah, this would be a bad time for that to happen. Like there's a good time for the market to collapse.
Right. So, Bill, other impressions you have from the election. Lots of people are writing in. Oh, somebody says, I know no one who voted for Drazen, yet here we are. And now Betsy will split the vote and hand the governor to Kotex. What do you think is, so a lot of people don't understand why. I had people writing me, how come Betsy Johnson's not on the ballot? It's because we have a closed primary, because right now the Democrats and Republicans allow all of our non-affiliated voters like me to pay for their election when actually they should be paying for it themselves or open it up to everybody or else get the hell out of here. But right now that's not the system. So Betsy has to get signatures starting now, I would guess, and then she can get on the ballot.
Well, okay, so going to the comment, I don't know anybody who voted for Drazen. Keep in mind, she only had something like 23% of the vote. 23%. So, and I mean, the Republicans had a huge list of people that were running to be governor. So she only had something like, last I looked, it was 24% of the Republican vote went for her. So there's a very good chance you don't know anybody who voted for Drazen. I mean, there's a 3 in 4 chance that you don't know anybody that voted for Christine Drazen. Can you write her in though?
You can write her in, but it's not good. It doesn't do any good. So it's really kind of worthless to do. But yeah, and okay, Bill. So what do you think? Let's say Betsy gets those signatures, and so now it's Betsy, Drazen, and Kotek. What's that matchup going to look like?
That is the $1 million question. I asked Bob Tiernan when I talked to him. I said, okay, so Betsy Johnson, who's she going to siphon votes from? Is it going to be the Republicans or is it going to be the Democrats? What do you think? Now, mind you, he's a Republican and he's rah, go team. He thinks it's going to be from the Democrats. I have a sneaking suspicion that it's probably going to hurt the Republicans worse than it does the Democrats. And my reason for saying that is because watching this for a number of years, to me, the Democrats feel very much more tribal than a lot of times than the Republicans are.
Right.
And so it's either, you're part of us or you're not. And if you're not, we don't want anything to do with you.
Right.
And
I think there's a lot of people like Kotek and Kate Brown and people that Betsy has really stepped on their toes. And they are, when they are that tribal, it's vicious. And she knew, Betsy knew, she told me getting into this, she knew they'd come after her. And the unions will be after her. The ads attacks are going to be after her. But there's also, I get a lot of Republicans, and I think they're wrong, but they come on and say, I'd never vote for a Democrat because she voted for this, this, and this. Well, to me, your best shot at any kind of change in this state, you're going to get Kotek if you don't vote for Betsy Johnson. My opinion, Rick Dancer's opinion, because I don't think a Republican stands a chance in hell of winning. We haven't had anybody for 40 years. Are sick of what happened, but I don't know that people have gotten to a point where they are they still vote party. And I think people still have that. I feel safe voting for my party. And I think, the definition of insanity is you continue to do the same thing over and over again. And Republicans have been doing the same thing over and over again. And there hasn't been anybody in the governor's seat for 40 years.
But
my opinion, what's
interesting is how many Republicans that you'll hear that will triangulate this and say, I think I'm going to vote for Johnson. You look at some of the money that she's raking in from folks that typically give money to Republicans, and they've been pouring it into Betsy Johnson's campaign.
That's true.
I with all due respect to Bob Tiernan, I think it's going to come at the expense of the Republicans more so than the Democrats. Of course, we won't know until it actually happens, but that's kind of my theory on it. I want to mention one thing because you brought up the closed primaries. So a big deal was made here, I don't know, a month or so ago about there being more unaffiliated registered voters than
Democrats.
Than Democrats. And I have been quizzing this for a long time. And that is, okay, are these people unaffiliated because they're just disaffected with both of the major political parties, or do they just not give a shit? And they aren't planning on voting anyways, because if you get a driver's license here in the state of Oregon, you're automatically registered to vote. Right. I would like to know how many of those people, those unaffiliateds, really have any interest whatsoever in voting. I can tell you that from the ballots that have been counted so far, that 44.9% of the registered Democrats here in the state of Oregon voted. 47% of Republicans registered to vote voted. Of the unaffiliated, 13.1% voted. Now, you can make an argument that, well, it's because they don't have anything to vote for, but that's not true.
No.
You have county commission races, which you could argue are just as important, if not more so, than some of the other campaigns. And, local money issues and a variety of things. Only 13.1% of unaffiliateds even bothered to cast a ballot. They still get ballots, and 13.1% did. It'll be interesting when we get to the general, where everybody gets the same ballot, to see what they do. But I'm thinking this idea of I'm going to garner all of this support from the unaffiliateds is fool's gold. The other thing I found really interesting is that number of the unaffiliated outnumbering the Democrats. According to the Secretary of State's website today, there's 1,014,137 registered Democrats in Oregon, but 1,009,079 unaffiliated. So if the previous numbers were true, where'd this extra 5,000 Democrats come from?
Bill, what I think is funny, and I think this is true, but Kate Brown, when she was Secretary of State, pushed this motor voter bullshit so that anybody that went into DMV, we're going to sign you up. So she almost created her own problem, because now all these people, there's a lot of people I think go in there, and if you don't pick a party, they just put you as non-affiliated. So these are people that don't give a shit. They're not going to vote. Not all of them, but a lot of them don't care. They're not going to vote, but you're forcing them on the voter rolls. So you're watering down this whole system. And it was all done to just get more people in, to make it look like we want to make sure every person, for me, Bill, honestly, the older I get, if you're uneducated and you don't know anything about the candidates, I don't want you to vote. I don't want people going on there and going, oh, this is Oregon. That sounds happy and good. It sounds like a good thing. Let's legalize methamphetamine and other drugs because they told me on the commercial on TV that would help these people get better. Nobody talked about the fact that it was going to lure all these homeless people and transients into Oregon because, hey, it's Club Med. We're like tourism for the homeless. We can come here and get free medical care. We can get all the drugs we want. We won't get busted for it. I mean, were people not thinking? So I don't want uneducated voters voting in Oregon. And if they don't know the candidate, oh, that's a cool name. Tina Kotek, that's a really cool name. I'm going to vote for her. Or wait, oh, he's kind of handsome. She's pretty. I mean, God, we need people who are really looking at these people and saying, what did they do? What are they doing? And what will they do for the state of Oregon? I think also, Bill, what we need is somebody for governor who doesn't want to be governor, but wants to lead Oregon, that wants to be a leader, not that wants to be governor. And that, to me, is honestly, that's why I support Betsy Johnson. I think she really could give a shit about being governor, because she could have done this a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I really believe her honest. I mean, I'm not a Catholic, but I believe her when she says, because I've been bugging her for years to run. I go, you'd be great. You just say shit and you say things that you want to say. People will love you. And she go, I'm not going to run. I'm a dancer. They'll tear me apart. And I think she really is doing this to keep Tina Kotek out of that office, and she says that, and I take it for her word. I think she means it. I think she thinks that's a scary thing that's going to happen if Tina Kotek is the governor of Oregon. You think Kate Brown was bad? This is Kate Brown 2.10.
She said in a statement last night, she sent out a quick statement that, and I don't know, I don't have it here in my stack, where she essentially said about Tina Kotek that she's more Kate Brown than Kate Brown is.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Okay, so Bill, hold that thought. I got a couple more commercials here I got to run, okay? So
sure.
Hang in just a second. This changes people's lives, don't you?
Oh, I know it. I know it does. It's and I'm up front. I'm very transparent. Owning a business is hard work. Like if you don't have it in you, Like, I'll even say maybe buying a business is not for you, and that's okay. Entrepreneurship is hard. It's where all the metaphors come from. The grit, bootstrapping, like all that stuff comes from, running a business. You can't.
But when it works,
yeah, when it works, and more often it works than doesn't, especially if you buy an existing business, and we kind of go through it. We'll have a training process, everything like that. Even the sellers care about their baby that they've worked on. They'll make sure you're successful before they give you complete reign, and they're not going to let you fall on your face.
This is Dr. Michael Brownland with Cristiano. Oregonians allowed the lockdowns to remain in effect for 2 long years. 2 years. We allowed government officials to dictate what we put on our face and what we put on our bodies with little opposition and not enough questions. Why do I bring this up now? Because trust me, they will bring back masks next winter after the elections. Next time, don't be complacent. Actually follow the science and let your voices be heard. Next time, stand up to these power-hungry politicians.
I love that commercial because he is so right. It's like, I'm hearing already talk, that a lot of school kids are getting COVID, and it's pretty mild from most of the people I'm talking with. It's like a cold, but there's, grumblings in Portland. Teachers are talking and saying that there's talk of more at-home learning and all this kind of stuff. And I think if people, and then I would say this on both sides, if people want at-home learning or don't want at-home learning, now is the time to call your school board and start complaining, start saying, here's what I want. Because if you let this go till they make a decision, I think they're feeling people out to see what they think. And you can't lock down the culture again, especially right now when we're headed towards a recession. So it looks, the stock market drops 1,100 points. Gas prices are $5.19 in Oregon. I don't think this is a time when you want to lock down again for what is looking like it's not a big death rate. It's a cold.
Yeah. One other thing. Thoughts? Oh, well, yeah. Where the, this whole idea of this, what I'm just calling the slow count, which is the mail-in ballots. And the thing in Clackamas County, when you were at break there, I was looking at this. Clackamas County officials say at this point, they will not be able to finish counting the votes they have until likely next week. And that leaves completely up in the air the 5th congressional district, where Kurt Schrader, for the first time ever, had somebody, a Democrat, competing against him, and who, at least at this point, because Clackamas has been completely held out of the vote because they haven't been able to turn anything in, Jamie McLeod Skinner, based on the numbers from the other areas that could actually send ballots in, is leading him. And it also affects the 6th congressional district. That's the new one, because they all pull in chunks of Clackamas County. So those 2 congressional races right now, pretty much, even with Kurt Schrader trailing Jamie McLeod Skinner 61 to 39%, nobody is willing to call it, just simply because of Clackamas and the outstanding votes that haven't been mailed in. You would think, man, that's a blowout. And it's like too many votes. Clackamas County is the 3rd largest county in the state, the 3rd most populous county in the state. Well, so
for Jamie McLeod Skinner to come out and do this, I remember I know her because her partner is a friend of mine from Eugene. And then she was running for something else because I saw her at an event in Lakeview. This is a few years ago. And she was just kind of, and I don't mean this in a derogatory, just kind of a nobody, but she was really good on the trail. She's very good at associating with people and asking questions. And then she comes in, and to do that to Kurt Schrader and have not a lot of experience. She has been in a major race before, but she's doing a good job. I mean, if she can kind of kick his ass that way, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, consider it. Well, and it also goes to show you that Joe Biden's coattails are not very long, because if you recall, Joe Biden endorsed him and said, yeah, he's Kurt's the man. Schrader's the man. Vote for Kurt Schrader.
So look ahead to November. What do you think's going to happen? I mean, just I'm not looking for predictions, but do you think that Biden continuing to drive people, and especially, well, I know his diehard Democrat base that they don't even know there's another color besides blue, can't admit that he's fucking up Royal. But there's a whole bunch of other people who are, struggling. The people they supposedly want to support, the poor, the middle class, who it's not the rich who are suffering with the losses at the stock market and housing prices going up. Rich people don't worry about putting gas in their car. They're not going to go, oh, it's how much? The people that are hurting is you, me, and the low income folks, the very people that they say they're trying to help. How much do you think do you think people are just going to forgive it and forget? Or do you think they'll actually go to the ballot box and say, screw you?
I think they're going to do what they always do.
I do too, and
I think they're going to. All the incumbents they're going to vote for, which means you're going to have a supermajority in the legislature again, and likely Tina Kotek is going to be the next governor of Oregon.
Right.
I don't see Oregonians doing anything different than they have ever done. They didn't do anything. Nope. They didn't do anything different. Actually, you could say that the liberals gained traction during the Great Recession. They don't do anything different than they normally have done. And I see it after the November election, we're going to be saying, oh, just what we had before. Nothing really has changed, except in a few races where the incumbents decided they weren't going to run again. I honestly believe that's the case.
I do, honestly, Bill, and I try to be positive, but I have so many people come on and say, voting is just, I don't even think it helps anymore. And because Oregon is so far off, and I think a lot of people don't care if voices aren't heard. They have an agenda. They believe they're right, and they believe that they're going to shove this down people's throat, even if people in other parts of the state don't agree with them. They don't care. I mean, when I talk about rural Oregonians and what they think, I get messages from people in the urban places saying, if they don't like it, they can go away. Well, excuse me, asshole. You moved here from California. Their families have been here for 200 years. And that's your attitude, not that maybe they have a point or maybe there's something they need to talk about. That is what drives me crazy, is the arrogance of people coming on and not even caring anymore if they have a dialogue with people who disagree with them. It's unbelievable. And like you, I don't think it's going to change. And that's why Kathy and I moved to Montana. People go, you're not helping and staying and fighting. Well, there comes a point after you've covered this for 30 years in the news business and you've watched it go like this, that you go, you know what? I need to go someplace where people listen to me and where we have open dialogue and conversation, and you find it. So yeah, I do think Betsy is Oregon's best hope, but I still think there's too many diehard Democrats and diehard Republicans who are going to stand back and say, nope, I'm not doing it. She screwed us. Or the Republicans are say she voted for cap and trade, which she didn't, or she voted for this, or she voted for that. And I'm going to hold that against her. And instead of opening doors, they're going to just continue to close them.
Yep. I would agree. I think, like I said, it's going to be same old, same old. That's my thought.
And the piecing together, you see little bits of hope, where people come into the county position or somebody gets in there, and that's great. But it's when you have a majority of people on a board or the majority of the people in the city council. Mike Clark can't change the city of Eugene by himself. And so until people believe in balance and saying, hey, we need to have 3 and 3 or 2 and 3 or something, so we have some kind of balance, and it's going to take guts to do that. And I don't think people have the guts to do that, to really try to see what are we going to do, for all of Oregon, for all of Eugene. And I sure as hell hope this doesn't happen in America again, where it's like, messaging. We have no critical thinking, and we have lots of public relations.
You mentioned public relations. This was several years ago. I was looking at city employees in Eugene, and every single freaking department has at least one, if not multiple, PR people dealing with it, whether it's public works. You would expect the police department because they're busy, but they all have a PR person.
Right.
Every single one of them has a PR person. Why does public works need to have 2 PR people? you look at it and go, yeah, it's all about spin. It's all about protecting the beast.
Yep. And until people who pay those bills stand up into it, it's not going to change. Bill, thank you so much for doing this tonight. People are coming on here going, I like the Rick and Bill show. This is fun. Your knowledge, I used to tell you this all the time. You were the guy who asked the hard questions. And when I needed help a couple of days ago, looking up some information, first person I call is Bill. He helps me out because I'm not as connected as I used to be, and he knows how to find that stuff. And so we do appreciate you, and we love having you on the show.
Thanks, Rick.
So it's good. It's good having you along, and people like you. All right, man.
Okay. Well, I'm not doing my job. No,
you need to be an asshole. I think I got all my breaks in there. You guys, we did have a story on the Butte mines that I was going to air tonight, but we went over because I thought this was better and to do it. So we will air the Butte mine story tomorrow, along with we're going to be at the world's, I have to read this because I can't remember it, the world famous bucking horse sale in Miles City, Montana, which is almost to the North Dakota border. So Kathy and I'll be traveling over there tomorrow. And then the week after that, we're going to be in Glendive. We're going to be all over Montana. So you guys will be seeing a lot more of it. Bill, thanks again, buddy.
Yeah. And I just want to know if you get a good deal on bucking horses, you get a 2-for-1 or something like that. I'll take the one.
You'll be the first person I'll think of. You live in Philomath. Hey, you live in Philomath, right?
Yeah.
We just picked up a new client. The Cameron Family Winery is going to be one of our new clients coming in June.
Nice.
She heard what we do. She loves you. She listens to us on a podcast, and she called up and said, how do I support what you guys are doing and get some attention for my business? And I said, so I put Tim on her, and Tim's talking to her, and they're going to be a new sponsor. And she knew who you are. She goes, oh yeah, he's been in here. So she knew who you guys were and listens to us. And so I want to thank you because I think you helped seal the deal, mister.
Oh, cool. Well, hey, any free wine you want to send this way?
They can't do that, but we can work behind the scenes or something.
Oh, okay. I can't openly ask for free wine. Don't send the free wine.
Yeah,
don't send it.
Never ask for free wine.
Leave it on the porch. Just leave it on the porch.
All right, Bill. See you later. All right, Bill Lundun. Yeah, what would we do without him? One person still left in Oregon who's doing hard news. Everybody else has turned into pedal pushers. You ever watch the morning news like CBS or something like that? When I'm at the gym, sometimes it's up there and I'm going, oh my God, is this the best you people can do? It doesn't work. So anyway, we will have that mining story again. And yeah, we don't mean to be down on Oregon, but I think it hasn't gotten rock bottom hard enough for a majority of the people in the state of Oregon to climb out of the hole and say, this isn't working for everybody. And we need to get all voices involved in the conversation. So keep trying though. We'll keep pushing them. All right. Share this on your page, share it with your friends, put it on your page. You never know who's going to see it. Have a great night. And we will be here tomorrow night live from Miles City, Montana.